Hey people, welcome back to another Subnautica video. Good God! It's been forever since we talked about it. To be honest, there hasn't been much in terms of news or information on the game, and I'm of the type that tends to like to let some of it collect so I can vomit all of it onto your beautiful faces, and then you can just get even more excited about the things that are to come. Now, I know starting off a video talking about vomit isn't the most appealing thing in the world. However, we got some juicy information to share with you, which you might already know about, but I figured I'd give you my take on it and maybe some information you get from this video you weren't aware of, and therefore we all win. So, welcome back to Subnautica. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the expansion pack, the Arctic Zone, as people are now correcting everyone on. Calling the entire DLC the Arctic Biome is a bit misleading, and I'll get into that in just a second. But let's start off on our favorite wiki page, probably the most visited page in recent months, and that is the expansion pack page. And as it's described, as it has been described plenty of times, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the first few sentences are quite important. It says the expansion pack is an upcoming paid DLC for Subnautica. Paid DLC. Everybody expects free stuff. The full release date is currently planned for early 2019. Man, last time we did this, there wasn't a release date. There still technically isn't a release date. That's kind of like a release time period. Early 2019 is technically like Q1, which means it could be January, it could be February. Nonetheless, we now have an expected time frame, which gives us kind of a good idea of the content that we are going to be receiving in the expansion pack. Good content. I mean, you could probably expect that from Unknown Worlds in general, but that's quite a long time. That's obviously not a bad thing. I completely am behind the idea of spending time on content to make it worthwhile instead of just pumping it out and having it be crap, giving your studio and your game a bad rep. So I'm excited. That means there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. Now, in the second paragraph, it does say it will also be set in a time period after Riley Robinson has escaped Planet 4546b. If you don't know, Riley Robinson is our main character in the base game. Beautiful man with some gorgeous Ajit Pai lips. Also, that hawk is pretty dope. Now, the most recent news, there's a new creature that has been unveiled on the Subnautica Discord that features the Squid Shark. This thing right here, this beautiful thing, is the Squid Shark. Now, this is the apparent 6th version of this creature that is just a concept art. Let's think about that for a moment, too, and realize that this is not a confirmation of this creature being in the game or the expansion. A concept art is just that. It is a concept. Artists creates lots of concepts. If you haven't seen prior, there's a whole page. You can see that the Subnautica artists have created a ton of concept art that never really made it into the game. So seeing this doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be in the game. However, it's still incredibly interesting to see the idea or the theme that they're going for with the fauna. This thing is beautiful, it's seemingly elegant, and it's also monstrous once it attacks. Now, it said that this thing is going to be the size of a regular shark, or like bone shark or sand shark. It looks like it could potentially be a Leviathan class fauna, but it isn't, unfortunately. There is obviously going to be one. I believe the reefback one is also considered a Leviathan because of its size. But if we're talking about dangerous fauna, hazardous ones that are going to eat you and swallow you whole, this guy can't probably do that. He ain't big enough. But there will be probably one that is going to terrorize you during your time. So some notes and details on the appearance. I know it's been talked about before, but it's very interesting how deceiving this creature really is. Now, if we take a look at the other concept art of the other creatures that are being worked on for the DLC, for instance, this cute little guy, the alien penguin bee, which I think it's been stated that this is kind of an older version. But notice also the deception of this creature. This thing is cute. You want to approach it. It might even, on the surface, as you can see it's standing, it might stand on top of ice. it might be approachable. You might be able to interact with it in some way, but as it seems to be swimming, it's quite dangerous and ferocious. It is absolute nightmare fuel. So it makes me wonder, are the other creatures also going to share this trait of this misleading characteristic, this deception? And I wonder if the Arctic biome in itself is going to be themed around that. One can always look at beautiful glaciers and mountains of ice in the Arctic areas of our planet and just be awestruck. It's quite a sight. It's beautiful. But trying to live there or interacting with certain creatures that might live in these areas probably wouldn't be a good time for you. It is very cold. It is literal death. It is quite deceiving, and I love that they're kind of reflecting that in these creatures. I know that's kind of like a far-reaching idea. I mean, can you imagine this thing, this Arctic reefback, potentially being deceiving as well? Now, it seems like that the creatures that attack, you know, the penguin and then the squid shark, they seem like they're hostile by nature, and that those are the ones that are going to be ultimately deceiving. The Arctic reefback could very much be like the reefbacks we've seen in the other areas of 4546b, in which it's very much just a passerby, a bystander in the otherwise chaotic environment it lives in. Nonetheless, if this thing had a mouth and it opened it, vomit would not be the only thing expelling from this human body. But I'm curious. I'm very curious. I wonder if that's a secret they'll keep until we encounter it for the first time. So again, that is the squid shark with its crazy alien-like mouth. And I mean alien as in the movies. Alien, the xenomorphs, I think is what they're called. And it seems like it has some kind of like jet-like propulsion sticking out of its sides. Like instead of gills in order for it to breathe, that it seems like it can expel possibly water to propel itself even farther. Or maybe when it lunges for an attack, it'll shoot out water to propel itself. Now there are the tentacles, which can very much be related to a lot of other fauna in the game that we currently know, which I'm not sure if there's any kind of significant importance for it. Could be stingers. Trying to approach and shank it from the side might be a bad idea. They might be sensors of sorts, who knows? And again, it's sharing very much the same pattern that a lot of sea creatures do and kind of need, either being prey or being the predator. If you are looking at this creature from the top, the water gets darker as you look down. It tends to be that way, so you would less likely see this thing roaming beneath you. It acts as a bit of camouflage, being that it's darker on the top half of the creature's skin. Now, its eyes seem rather strange. It seems almost robotic in a way. It seems like some kind of laser eye. I don't know how else to describe that. It's very, again, very deceptive. Who knows? Maybe this thing is programmed by the precursors, man. Anyway, enough talk about the squid shark. It's not a leviathan, but it is dangerous as hell. Don't go near it. Moving on. Now, this is a databank entry that was teased by Charlie Cleveland on his Twitter account. There are things to note about this, but let's go ahead and read it together, everyone. Gather around. The Vesper is a semi-permanent installation designed to provide a sustainable environment for research personnel stationed far from Federation space. Once in geosynchronous orbit of a target planet, it deploys multiple ground-to-space elevators for energy-efficient resource transportation. Location: Planet 4546b, Ariadne Arm. Mission parameters: forensic examination and recovery of Aurora wreckage. 2. Biomedical research. 3. Ecological preservation. 4. Resource exploration. 5. Classified. Now, this is very interesting because space elevators is obviously the first thing that comes to mind for pretty much anybody. This station, this thing that will deploy the elevators, is going to be in orbit of our planet and on the same speed or rotation of the planet itself. So therefore, to the naked eye, it will appear to be stationary and will be able to drop elevators down and have them in the same spots regardless. As far as I know, you were given a purpose, a mission. You are not here to try and survive and escape. You are here to try and survive and research. You are an absolute higher paid personnel with the goal of discovering things on this planet, which might be kind of an oversight for the people in charge of setting up this mission, because they should be very much aware at this point the amount of ships that have been lost to this planet. Also, if you take a quick look, you can see that there are little glowy white things there. This as it's been confirmed, is a prototype for the weather system that is supposed to be snow, which shouldn't really be inside of a base. But again, confirmation on the weather thing. The weather is definitely going to be happening. It makes the most sense that there would be snow, I guess. If the climate is cold enough, obviously there will be snow at some point. There are other things that affect that, but still. So interestingly enough, we are going to be exploring the Arctic biome to its depths with the mission of understanding everything, which would give an absolute use to the scanner, which we did use obviously in the main game, but now there's even more of a purpose that it could be a mission to scan the different fauna, to scan the different flora, and to get a better understanding of all the details. It's much more of an exploration versus survival, even though you will need to survive. Let's just hope and pray that if that is the case, then our character is well prepared to handle herself in this environment. I know we're doing research, but there should not be a reason why we don't already have a bunch of recipes for defense mechanisms, vehicles, and other things to survive prior to landing. We shouldn't have an empty fabricator on the off chance that maybe this place we're going to will be calm and nothing will try to hurt us. That's just unrealistic and it wouldn't happen. Again, I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. We'll talk about it. Relevant speculation, people. So as I mentioned in the beginning, there's a bit of confusion regarding what is the Arctic DLC or the expansion pack and then the Arctic biome. The expansion pack, the DLC itself, is going to be set in a playable area, a new area, and the Arctic biome is going to be a biome within that area. Much like how in the base game, you have the lava biome, the Lost River, all these different biomes within the playable area. The Arctic DLC is not just the Arctic biome. Although it's been rumored a lot that majority of the playable area will be this biome, it's interesting to know that there will be different areas to explore as well. I can't imagine that our protagonist has been sent to this planet just to observe this one area of ice, this Arctic biome. There's going to be more places that we need to go to. And again, the release date of being in early 2019 definitely would make us think that it's not just a biome being developed. It's of course also been discussed that Unknown Worlds are working on prototypes and new games at the same time. They can't just stop with Subnautica, they gotta work on other things. Which of course is a terrible, terrible segue, but it brings me to a point that I also mentioned at the beginning regarding Subnautica players and certain Subnautica players. There's quite a bit of people, but players that are either comparing the expansion pack being paid to that of EA and the Star Wars Battlefront dilemma, and that when you purchase a game like Subnautica, even though it's at a very low price, honestly, come on guys, but in that if you purchase the game, you should get all of the content and not just some of it. Now the comparison in general is pretty bad, and I don't think it's a common idea. I have seen it multiple times, but the idea of it being paid seems to be triggering, and that they feel like the content should automatically be included, expecting that the DLC should be free because you've already paid for Subnautica is quite the entitled mindset, and it shows that these players don't particularly understand, one, the depth of the expansion itself, pun intended, and two, how these types of DLC actually work anyway. I would completely understand, for instance, if Subnautica decided to charge for the rocket ending, or for the ending to even happen, or charge for the Lost River to be explored further. That would make me upset and would feel like there's content locked away that we should have access to for purchasing the game in the first place. This is not the case. You could actually play through the entirety of Subnautica from start to finish with purchasing it just once. The DLC itself is paid because it's going to be a separate game, a separate storyline. In a sense, you could think of it as Subnautica 2, and if there was a sequel to Subnautica, it would likely be paid. But yes, now that we're seeing that it's listed as paid DLC, there are some people that are upset about it. Don't go thinking you gotta break the bank to be able to play the expansion. Now, the biggest question a lot of you might be asking, IGP, what am I supposed to do from now until early 2019? I mean, that's a lot of time. I might move on from Subnautica. Keep in mind, there is an entire modding community currently working on small to large scale modifications for Subnautica. And there's a Discord channel dedicated to it, but from what I can gather, there are close to 100 different mods. Some of these, again, are very small. I feel like most of them are very small additions. As you can see, it says new biome map. There are a lot of things that you can do to modify Subnautica and have a completely different experience. Look at this, Cyclops solar power. Let's check out this map though. The map is something I've always wanted to look into anyway. So this is just a screenshot of what it would look like in-game, and it's a pretty detailed map that seems to have a bunch of icons and such. Also, I see there's 7 hotbar items, which is probably also a mod, but it looks like this map fills in as you travel to certain areas. I haven't actually tested this yet, and I wanted to bring that up too. If you guys are interested in me showing off some of these mods in separate videos, I'd be happy to do that because I'm probably going to check these out myself anyway. So let me know if you have a favorite mod, if you've been doing it yourself, post it in the comment section. Hopefully I'll find it and I'll take a look at it in the next episode. But it's a very interesting community. These people are very much dedicated to giving either a better experience for the player, some things that never came around to being in Subnautica that could have been very useful, like a map, considering that we are futuristic. We should have something like that. But also they explore things like multiplayer, which I know is something that has been around for a while now, but they're still working on it, as far as I can tell. Here is just a list of things. I don't even know how this is organized. It just seems like it's sorted. Oh, it's sorted by endorsements. How many times, I guess, people endorse this and say it's a good mod. We have the map, QMods manager, which I'm assuming is kind of like a nexus for all the mods to be either ticked on or ticked off at the start of the game, which would be nice. You can have more quick slots from that screenshot. Looks like there's 1 billion. That's always amazing. Auto sort lockers. Look at that, dude. Blueprint tracker. Sea glide map controls. That is something I would want because I always felt like it was just in the way. Now, I don't see the multiplayer mod listed here, but it is on the Discord server. You can find it just by searching on the main Subnautica Discord server. But yeah, so if you want to buy the time and make it a different experience, there's even things that can push you past hardcore where you can edit certain criteria like a custom game mode. There's just so many options and so many different things. Again, I would love to show them off to you. If that is something that interests you guys, be sure to let me know and just check this page out. This will definitely buy some time, and also keep in mind that it has been mentioned by the devs in the Subnautica Discord that eventually, hopefully, open development will take place again. In that the same way the developers were open with the updates and content being added in experimental mode for the base game, they might start doing that as well for the Arctic once it gets to a certain point, which I am all the more excited for, and of course I know you guys are as well. So hopefully we can keep the Subnautica hype alive. This game is well deserving, and I'm more than excited for this expansion to drop. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I can't think of any other information that is new. If I missed anything, let me know in the comment section below, and I will be happy to discuss it. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to be alerted every time I upload another awesome video. Awesome meaning crap. But again, thank you very much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!